You're listening to episode 173 of SLP. This week, we've got the return of Tim G and the Beast from the East as we go through the games that survived the weather from the Cup and the Super League. We've also got loads of feedback and shout-outs, some big news stories to go through, and we look forward to all the upcoming games. And we find out some new nicknames we've given to you, the listeners. Strap yourselves in for your favourite podcast, the Super League Pod.
Hello everyone, welcome to episode 173 of SLP. Hi, I'm Mark, your regular host, and I'm joined this week by guest co-host Tim G Radio, Tim Griffiths. How are you doing, Tim?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. Yeah, I'm obviously well away from the snow now, so that's all gone, thankfully, here. Did you have much with you?
Well, where I live on the Fylde coast, it's famously snow-free, but yeah, there was a few flurries, but nothing that upset local traffic. But obviously, a lot of other things were upset with more postponed games and those sorts of things. Yeah, welcome along to everyone who's listening, new and old. We'll have a little quick catch up on what you've been doing since you were last on the show 3 weeks ago, Tim, in a second. But just to let everyone know that what's coming up on this week's show, we're going to go through a few where I'm listening from, shout outs from the fans, which was great to get. We've actually got a bit of an extended shout outs and feedback section really this week to start the show with, just because less games to go through. I've included a few longer talking point things in here. Plenty of listener views on the Watts transfer and the Brown retirement, the Charnley news too, his second coming to rugby league. That'll get some coverage.
Chanley? Charnley. Did you see how it was spelt out on the shirt? It looked like they'd not quite got the typesetting right, and it was just ridiculously spelt.
Was it not spelt the correct?
It was spelt
spaced out.
Like, yeah, it's spaced. It was the spacing. They'd kind of like gone Charnley.
That's because they've had to design their characters to fit Murdoch Masilla on the back of a shirt. And now for everyone else, they have to get the character spacing sorted. Either that, or he's got really broad whilst he's been in Union. Yeah, we're going to catch up on all the games. We'll have a bit of a Challenge Cup catch up because as we're recording, there's a couple of games going on as well. So we'll have the results for those by the time we get to it, I think. So, Tim, this is your second show of the SLP. What have you been doing since the first show? Have you been up to much or snowed off?
So I've had two games snowed off. So obviously we had the York City Knights game at Coventry that was killed out by snow. That was quite a nice early call, so that was good. It was obvious that one wasn't going to go ahead because but again, it was the farcical situation where the RFL have to go and confirm themselves that they're allowing it to be snowed off.
This is like the Hunslet Bradford game from this weekend where all the pictures were like, look, there's like 2 foot of snow here, but and no one was giving any shits about trying to clear it. It wasn't like a Wakefield effort where people had shovels out. No one was doing anything at South Leeds Stadium, were they?
No, they might have put the kettle on, but that's probably as far as they got in terms. But yeah, with the farcical situation where everybody knew it was off, and yet someone from the RFL has to say yes, you're allowed to call it off. You'd think that having an amber weather warning or a red weather warning would be enough for them to go, might be an idea. But
I saw the pictures of that, and there was basically nothing but snow you could see at the whole of the ground.
Yeah.
And then you had a second game called off this weekend, the Cup game.
Second game is called this week. In between, I had a couple of days off work, which was quite nice, and went to see Elbow, my parents.
Oh.
Hello to my parents if they're listening, which they probably are because they listened last time. So we had some new listeners.
Hello to the parents. Nice. Yeah. Are they listening from Wales, or do they not live in the old country?
No, they live down in Surrey. So,
right, okay. So we're not branching out into more Welsh listeners.
No, but funny you should mention Wales. That might come up later in the quiz, so keep listening for that one.
Oh yeah, this is you getting your own back on me. Well, I've got a quiz for you too, so we'll be well quizzed up this week.
Excellent. So yeah, we went to see Elbow, which is quite nice, and then I had a couple of days off, and I went up and did a sort of hipster tour of London. I went to a couple of record shops and a couple of tea shops because I'm quite into my tea. So sort of weird and wonderful variety. So I got a few of those, which is quite nice.
So we should have something interesting for the recommends.
Yeah. And then went down to watch Brentford play Millwall, which was a frustrating experience. However, it was very fun in that I did get to see Ablett Street once again.
Yeah.
Our old friend.
The old Wigan against Catalan game down there that we both were at.
There was no boxes of fire this time. I was disappointed.
Well, it's a bit less pomp and ceremony for a League One football match. Is it League One that they're in?
Championship now. We're moving up in the world, yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I haven't got a clue.
We went and did didn't do all the microbrews. We did sort of, I think, about 4 this time. And there's a new one that's popped up as well, which is an extension of Moore, who are down in Bristol.
Yes, I saw you were
there. That was good. That was a new one, which was quite good. So we enjoyed ourselves, had a good day, and then again this week, had football on the Saturday, and my friend's little boy was the mascot.
Oh, wonderful!
So he was walking out, and he was very excited. Uncle Big Tim, I was the mascot. I got to lead the team out. I was like, yes, Harry, I saw. Here's the picture. Well done.
My friend Cass, who comes up quite often on the podcast, his one of his lads was doing the flag waving before the Wigan against Widnes game, and because it was cold, none of them had like the Wigan shirts out and on, did they? They all had the coats on, and he has this luminous green like shoulder pad covering area to his coat. It's really, really bright. You couldn't miss him at all when he was on the pitch. So yeah, we got to see him in full high def, even across the pitch.
And then Sunday, I was all set to go for the Challenge Cup try against Pilkington. Sat on the train. I'd literally just got the iPad out, started a film, and then lo and behold, get the message come through from Pilkington that the game's off. So quickly grab everything, bolt off the train within 10 seconds of it leaving, and then went back to my parents' house and carried on the rest of the day.
So you managed to at least get off the train, which is a bonus.
Yeah,
rather than being stuck halfway between there and
it was a close run. Yeah, well, the worst would have been if I'd got sort of up to London and then got found out, or even the other scenario would be, of course, just getting it. Yeah, you can imagine the other way around, just getting into Coventry, just arriving, and then you find out, which would be. So I had a football game once where we'd actually organised a supporters coach paid for by the club, getting up to Sheffield because it was when Brentford were contesting with Sheffield to go up that year. Going up to see Sheffield United, and we got as far as the M40 before we got the phone call saying, the game's been called off. So everybody had to head back round, so that was good fun.
I don't think I've ever... I mean, yes, Sunday's experience was a game that was called off that I was supposed to be going to, but I don't think I've ever set off to a game and then found out it was off mid transit. But Sunday's game being off meant that I literally was left with nothing to do for the whole entire weekend. I've been working extra recently, and I thought, right, Sunday, go and watch the rugby, shout all of my life frustrations away at 17 blokes on a rugby field, and so I was just at a loose end. So I've actually written a couple of blog posts this weekend, so they're up on superleaguepod.com if people want to read those. I'm sure they'll come up as we go through the show. So let's get into the meat of the show, shall we? And I'll take us through the feedback and shout-outs we've had. Some of them are a callback to last week's show. A few of them are some discussion points for us to get our teeth into. So I'm going to start with Paul Michael Craig, at PaulMac_78, the Thunder from Down Under. He said, I'm really enjoying the mix of co-hosts this year. Loved hearing Scoot swearing against her will. Wonder if Joshua will be allowed to listen to her debut. Yeah, that fell awkwardly last week for Sarah, that she landed all the reviews. But she's a committed member of the SLP family, so she is determined to not filter the show, even if she doesn't quite feel comfortable saying everything. So she did a cracking job, and it was great to have her on. Now comes the Where I'm Listening From section of the feedback. David Powell says, I'm listening walking through the Cars and Style Wood in Wilmslow.
That sounds quite nice.
Yeah, Bob Phillips. He says, listening to Super League Pod whilst dogging, driving like Mario.
Who's surprised?
Under the pipe in the LGI and walking by the air. So
Under the pipe,
He means dogging
under the pipe in the LGI sounds very dodgy.
Well, he means dogging in the car share sense, doesn't he? Rather than
Yeah.
rather than the other sense, does Dr. Bob
But
Phillips?
what's under the pipe in the LGI? That sounds like it's some sort of underground club where the doctors go to swap drugs or something like that.
I don't know if the pipe and the Mario reference are kind of linked.
Oh, right, okay.
I don't know, but there's pipes that go over the River Aire in sort of pipes. I don't know how else to describe it. I've seen pipes that go over that. So
See,
maybe
I thought LGI might be Leeds General Infirmary. It might be some sort of doctory thing.
Good shout. He does go there sometimes for work. Because he is a real doctor. Alan Walker, he said, great app to listen to whilst pushing the trolley round Lidl near the Camp Nou on a sunny Tuesday afternoon. So there's one of our more exotic. Well, that's about as unexotic as you could get for being in a more exotic location than where we are recording this show. Phil Nadin, finally, he said, listening to Super League Pod whilst keeping British industry rolling on.
Wow. Do you think he has a Yorkie whilst he's listening to the Super League
Whilst
pod?
he's driving his truck?
I'd like to think so.
What I think he does is he finishes his shift, then he retweets or favourites all the tweets that we send from the night before, and it reminds me what I've sent the night before when I've been watching games, which helps me keep up on what's been going on. If I've been having a drink the night before, that's what Phil's greatest asset is to me as a listener, I would say. Right, now we've got a few that you can get your teeth into, Tim. We've got David Lawrenson at David Lorrow on Twitter. He says, how do you think this season has started in terms of excitement, entertainment and skill levels, better or worse than previous years?
I think excitement's an interesting one. There have been some quite exciting moments in games. I don't think there's not been many games where it's been the whole game that's been particularly exciting that I can recall off the top of my head. I think skill levels is an interesting one because I wonder, is it that there's just a general lack of quality at the very top level which makes some of the skill when it comes off look that much better?
Yeah, there's been a lot of, like you say, isolated moments of great skill. In the Super League, we haven't had any completely ridiculous finishes yet, compared to what we've already seen so far in a couple of rounds of the NRL. But there's been some great kicks, some great improvisation like that. There's been, I don't know, like some really good breaks from a couple of the sides, particularly St Helens, through sort of Percival, Barber, Lomax region.
And Richardson.
Until last week, there's been a few breaks. There was the Richardson play against Warrington. There was the Lucas Albert play and the Chris Atkin plays in the Catalan Hull KR game. There's been some really great moments of kicks and stuff like that. In terms of, I think the weather's really dampened the entertainment, hasn't it? There's been, every game I've been at's been freezing.
Well, if you look at like that Hull Warrington game that got on despite the snow and whatever, if that had been in the middle of July, that would have been a real end-to-end game. That would have been, much quicker. So I think, it is partly the weather. Yeah,
the weather's been a big factor. That's upset things from my enjoyment. But there's still been, I'd say, Hull Leeds against Hull, Saints against Leeds, and
there's only been a few dire games though. Well, on the flip side,
Catalan have played 6 games, though, haven't they?
Yeah, and well, they've played KR twice, which if you've watched all 80 minutes of both of them, you deserve some sort of medal.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I'd say it's not been quite great as a grand spectacle, but I think the weather's been as much to do with it. It's been the coldest start to a Super League season I can remember. I can't ever remember 2 weekends in a whole Super League season that have been seriously impacted by postponements, let alone like 2 within the same month, the first month or so of the season. So yeah, that's impacted things. Right. Sorry if there's any background noise. My wife's just come home and she's making a racket in the kitchen, but we'll see to that.
Good evening, Emma. Nice to have you aboard.
But yeah, I'll kick you off with one from Richard Wilkinson, our Leeds fan friend from now based in Sydney. And he says, now then, lads, I wanted to highlight some of the kids that have flourished